Hey there. Thanks for tuning in to Searching for Service. I'm your host, Joe Kirk. You'll notice that there's only one of us here today. Miss Kelly Kirk is at home recovering. We just had a wonderful little daughter. We're really excited about that. So it is just me. You get me. I've got large shoes to fill for sure. And I'm definitely not as good to look at. So, um, and today I have an amazing guest with me, Pat Merriweather. And Pat is the Rotary International Director. And then you will be stepping into the VP role in July. So welcome to the show, first of all. So excited to have you here with us.
Well, thank you and congratulations on your newborn. That is very exciting, and I hope your wife does take the time to recover because it's one of the most precious times, but it's also a change in life too. So,
Oh, it is. And it's been the most amazing thing to watch her become a mother. And I have two kids from another marriage, and she's been amazing with them. But to have one of her own, the change that happens is just so special. And it's been really fun to watch. So I've definitely been in the spectator side. I've helped about as much as I can at this point. But as you know, it's hard to do. But again, thank you so much for joining us on this show today. And we're really excited to learn a little bit more about Pat and where do you come from?
well, I'm originally from Chicago, and I was born and raised there, and now I live in Naperville, Illinois.
Which I'm told is now 160,000 people. I swear when I was in college, it was not that big, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, when I moved there, it was about 30,000, maybe even a little less. I think we were stretching it at 30, but now it's flourishing. It really is.
And you're married and with children as well, correct?
Yes, my husband's a Rotarian, George, and we have 4 sons. I have 3 daughters-in-law and 7 wonderful grandchildren.
Wow, that's amazing. But it's got to get really fun when you get to the grandkid age and you can just hand them back when when they're fussy and stuff. You don't have to deal with them. You get to give
Yeah,
them candy too anytime you want.
candy, ice cream, you name it.
Well, how did you get involved with Rotary? And I'm really excited to hear that both your husband and yourself are involved in the Rotary because Kelly and I are both involved, and it's been magical for our relationship and our family.
Yeah, I probably entered through a different route that many people do, and I was, as I said, born and raised in Chicago. I went to high school, and it was about 4 miles, 5 miles from Rotary headquarters, and it wasn't until after 2001 I was asked to go on an ambassador exchange, not related to Rotary, to China after 9/11. And I came back, and one of my friends said, "Can you come and talk to our Rotary Club?" And my first question was, "What is Rotary?" And so that's how I got involved in Rotary. I found the fellowship, the service projects they were doing, the initiatives, and just the general kindness of everyone in the club. And so when they asked me back for lunch again, I was like, yes, I'm on, I'll do it. And that's how I got started in Rotary.
That's amazing. And that's a commonality amongst some of the other guests that we've had on the show is, you get introduced through something else and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you get kind of hooked in and you don't ever leave.
Yeah.
This show is really geared around service. I mean, obviously it's called Searching for Service, and we connect Rotarians and what we hope are future Rotarians, but ultimately we just really care about connecting people that care about service to service projects. Can you share what your favorite service project that you've worked on?
Oh, there's probably so many of them, but I think from because I've gone to over 30 countries and different projects, but I think the one that was the most impactful for me personally was a teaching lesson that I got. And
Sure.
it was early on. I went to Kenya, Upendo Village in Kenya. It's primarily an AIDS, HIV community. The children had all lost their parents and they were raising their siblings. And it's supported by a Catholic initiative out of the Wheaton Franciscan Sisters. And so I went there, and I'm going through these villages, and they're mud and dung huts. People are living, the children are supporting their siblings. They're making sure they go to school. They're going to school. They're going down for water to pick it up and bring it back and barter for food. I mean, it was really the most impoverished area I had ever been in. And then in this corner, mud and dung hut. And the mud and dung huts, there's no furniture. There's usually slabs of wood that they were sleeping on. And I looked over, and there was like one of those cans, that has a wick out of it. And it was like not an oil can, but like that. They were using it to study at night. And in the corner was on the wood was a physics book. And I sort of chuckled, and I said to the young man, physics. And he looked me straight in the eye and said, "I want to be a physicist." And that was my educational lesson, to never underestimate the vision that other people have, the hope they have for a better life. But and again, he went on to high school and college and raised his siblings.
That's amazing insight. And, I think we all get so stuck in our biases and
Mhm.
our, the things that we're just programmed to judge and short circuit a
Mhm.
process, right? Like we
Right.
think, and I think that's such good advice for everybody listening on here to step back and remember that there's there's always something beneath what you're perceiving, and
Mhm.
to always be open to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. That's a
Yeah.
really wonderful story. Um, you know, tell us a little bit about how you graduated, because obviously you don't become vice president overnight. Tell us a little bit about how you got from a Rotary member to serving in Rotary International leadership.
It is an interesting story because I never aspired to do anything except service. I love the service. I love, like everyone does. They love their club, the fellowship that was provided. And I just started really getting actively involved and engaged in the Rotary projects, the Rotary grants, and then getting involved at the district level. And before I knew it, and also at the club level, being a president, and then a few years later, a district governor. And then the opportunity opened up for the director position, and a few days before it closed, I, um, I applied, and that's how I've just felt that so many people opened up doors and said, "Would you like to do this? Would you like to join with us?" And I had a mentor, Art Davis, and he said to me, "Pat, never say no. Always find a way to say yes or get others to say yes and have them
The
join
second
in."
half of that is so true, because there'll be times where, and I've bumped into it already with Rotary, and then you see it all the time is, you know, either there's just constraints to something, and you're like, oh, I don't feel like I can do that. But immediately Rotary
Mhm.
teaches you, well, then find somebody that can do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's that yes and it's almost like a
Mhm.
like a skit, what is it? Improv skit. Like you got to keep it going. You can't let it stop. That's so amazing. And it's so common, we've had the just absolute privilege of interviewing some great people on here,
Mhm.
and how often the answer of how did you get to where you are is, I don't know, I just said yes. I got asked, and it just
Mhm.
kind of just said yes, and the opportunity presented itself, and it's just so amazing, and it's a nice little like microcosm of how life can be, is just keep saying yes to things, and
Mhm.
keep finding ways to help people or find other people to help people. And that really just kind of gets you there. So we've got about a minute left with this segment. Is there anything else that you want to share about yourself before we go into kind of the meat and potatoes of the show?
I do want to share something, and that has to do with how I got involved in grants and service and international with our club. And I was walking back. I had just been installed as a member of the Rotary Club, and a Rotarian pulled me aside and grabbed my hand and said, "I've got this perfect project for you to work on, and I'll meet you right after the club." And I was engaged at that point. I was fully engaged. So again, I think it's somebody asking or opening up a door and taking the opportunity to go through it.
I love that. That's so good. And that'll bring us, speaking of doors, we're going to walk into the next door where we talk about some of the international work that Rotary does and how you've been involved with it. So we're really
Mhm.
excited to hear about that in the next segment. So you are listening to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary Districts 5950 and 5960. We'll see you in the next segment. All right. That was great. Goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah.
I remember the first show we did. It was like, wait a second, that was 11 minutes. I feel like all we did was introduce ourselves. And um, is there anything specifically that you want to hit on? I'm just going to open it up to you and just go ahead, and I'll just play off of you. And that's
I think, the expansion of Rotary, like if we're talking about international,
Mhm.
to also for them to be now addressing the disasters
Sure.
and identifying, natural disasters, major disasters, catastrophic, and
Perfect.
getting involved.
Love that. Okay, that's super easy to transition into. We ready to roll? We'll just keep it going. Hey there, welcome back to Searching for Service. Excited to have you. And just as a reminder, you can find us anywhere that you listen to a podcast. And we do like those 5-star reviews. So make sure to fill those out for us. Just as a reminder, we do have Pat Merriweather on the show today. And, you've got 10 different titles and accolades, but I'll just use Rotary International Director and then our future VP in July. So we're really excited to have you on the show. And, why don't we just jump in right away of how Rotary International is really starting to transform the way that we respond to, global events, natural disasters, just kind of go into that, because I think that it's really evolved in the recent years with the pandemic and everything else.
Yes, I think with the Rotary Foundation that they have really been in tune with what's going on and where people are, where their interests are, and how they want to support initiatives. Certainly, we have the global grants, we have the Peace Fellows, we have the scholarships, all of those things. But a couple of years ago, they ventured into disaster grants, and this was about $25,000 per grant, and people would donate funds towards it. But during the pandemic, there was the escalation also of the needs for more personal protective equipment and water stations and things like that. So they addressed it oftentimes through grants, but also through district funds.
Hmm.
And then Ukraine hit. And Ukraine was, I think, the watershed event for the disaster grants, where they said anyone can contribute to for Ukraine specifically. Before, you would just put your money in disaster grants, and it would be first come, first serve. Then they said for Ukraine, this is devoted towards Ukraine. And what happened is they had over 15 million, almost $16 million in just a couple of weeks that was
That's incredible.
contributed. It was incredible. And the amount of work that was done then using those funds, because oftentimes Ukraine couldn't purchase medical supplies or equipment in their country because it either had been destroyed or their transportation lines weren't up. So they look to other districts to purchase that, to apply for grants on their behalf. So it really did engage Rotary as a whole organization. And then, of course, we had the Pakistan floods that occurred
Mhm.
and covered, what about over a third of the country, and still to this day are not receding in some areas. I'll be going there in May of this year to Pakistan.
That's amazing. And our club actually recently had somebody from Pakistan on that spoke regarding all of the flood damage and and some of the strategic rebuilding of
Hmm.
the doing a little bit more engineering, propping some of the communities up higher, and it was really fascinating. One of the takeaways that I got from COVID and now Ukraine is we can't forget that the world keeps on kind of trucking regardless if we are focused on COVID or the Ukraine. There's still people that are uh, food insecure
Hmm.
and in Africa, India, everywhere around the world, and our ability to mobilize. And sometimes when we use these events like COVID or like the Ukraine, and you really see how when we have a focused target, how much goodwill we can do, $16 million a couple weeks. That's incredible, right?
Hmm.
And but just to be able to keep highlighting all of these areas of need because it's constant and it's never going to go away, and it's our duty to also respond to that as Rotarians.
I think the disasters that we've seen, including Turkey and Syria with the earthquakes,
Mhm.
having the one beauty about Rotary too is we can get the people, the Rotarians from Ukraine, we can get the Rotarians and Rotaractors from Turkey and Syria, and Rotarians from Pakistan, and when they tell the story and show the images, we're now part of that.
Mhm.
We can feel their pain, and we end up supporting them because we understand that it's so unusual and it could happen to anyone.
Yeah, the part that I'm always amazed by with Rotary is we all speak kind of a similar language regardless of where we are in the world. So when messages need to get around the world regarding if it's a disaster relief or if it's anything, we're able to move information extremely quickly.
Yes.
We don't have to go through as much politic and everything else. It's not like you're in a you don't speak the language or you don't understand the customs, and we're able to just reach out to
Mhm.
that country's Rotarians and say, help us help you, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
and it happens so quickly, and like the did you say $16 million in 2 weeks? Was that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's still astonishing to me. Like, I've always just been absolutely blown away by how quickly and how meaningfully Rotary can respond to whatever the call is.
Mhm. It
So
it has been my husband, before he was a Rotarian, we went to a convention, and I was looking for this one Dr. Komoro from Nigeria, because we were working on a project, and what he, said to me is he said, "I cannot believe it was within 5 minutes somebody located him, and he was there meeting with us," and he said, "The network of Rotary is something that he had never experienced or seen before." Because we are so well connected.
well, and you hear in disaster relief specifically is time is of the essence, right?
Mhm,
Like in the faster that you can react and deploy, the
mhm,
more lives you save and the more impact you have. And that's where Rotary. I just don't think that there's another organization in the world, period, that has better ability to react quickly and with effectiveness. Like,
mhm,
it's not that we just do something quickly and it's meaningless, is that because we have the boots on the ground and the local expertise that we're able to target that benefit so well that it does so much good. And I've just always been amazed by and just every day I feel like I'm always just astonished by something that Rotary has done, and it has a lot to do with the structure. And
Mhm.
we hit on it a little bit in the first segment with how well the leadership and how well the hierarchy is established for clarity and speed, um, and for just prolonged success. I don't know, really, I don't really know where I was going with that in terms of like you. It was just more of like me pontificating.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit if you have, about a minute.
We have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in this
Okay.
segment, so you got lots of time.
Okay. One of the greatest stories that I felt also came out of, Turkey was when the Governor Emro was talking about how, they were all as the earthquake, the day after, they lost Rotarians, they lost Rotaractors in the earthquake. And he said that all of a sudden, all these Rotaractors from around Turkey drove into the area to help with the recovery. And then they helped set up tents and places, the sleeping units and that. And he said to them, "Well, aren't you going to stay in a tent or in the sleeping area?" And they said, "No, we'll sleep in our cars. We want to let the other people have a place to stay." And he just broke down in tears. He said, "It was like, this is Rotary at its best. And the young people get it. It's no longer just, Rotarians, it's Rotaractors, it's interactors that have turned out to help." So it is, you said it's universal throughout Rotary, no matter what country you're in, it's the same type of support and reactions that people give to one another.
Well, and I think that's so important for our audience to hear this because, you know, not everybody that listens to this are Rotarians. And, in
Mhm,
fact, we've actually generated membership off of this show that, they just hear, wow, it's astonishing what Rotary accomplishes. And, I just wanted to find service opportunities, and boy, I found Rotary, and I found a
mhm,
family, and I found a community, and I found uh, a an organization that not only impacts locally but also internationally, and it was just so much more than what I thought it was. So it's so cool when you hear that feedback, and if you're listening out there, and you're just trying to get involved in your community, or you're looking for something to do that's larger than yourself, or just serve in some meaningful way, it's such a start to just start locally. And if with
mhm.
you, Pat, I mean, it started, you were in your club and you started with just yourself. So, you know, my time management is not as good without Kelly here. I've got like 10 seconds. I got to get us out of here, but this is really great conversation. Excited to keep this conversation going. So, as a reminder, you're listening to Searching for Service, and we're excited to see you in the next segment. Yeah, time management is a little bit of opportunity. I'm usually the one that can kinda, like, hang out and, like, watch the clock, and then all of a sudden we're in a great conversation, and it's like, "Oh, wait, 15 seconds left. Okay, never mind. Hold that thought."
Yeah.
Well, so then we'll go right into the Zone Institute. So we'll just pivot. I'll just say, let's just pivot from the
Mhm,
international, which again, how cool. Like I'm constantly blown away by Rotary every day. And it's one of those things that just it's the gift that keeps on giving. Just when you think you've seen it all, you're just like, oh man, we just started this initiative. Okay, that's
and it's so different because so many communities around the world, communities. I'm in Kansas, and I'm just, so impressed with what they're doing in their communities. And I was in Texas a couple of weeks ago, and they have a Rotaract club that is, autistic adults and young adults.
oh, I bet
It's
you
run it's amazing.
that's amazing. Yeah, just to be able to build community anywhere, right?
Right.
Around anything. I think it's
Mhm.
the part that's really cool. So, all right. Well, let's just get into section. We're already in 3 already. Isn't that amazing?
Goes by fast.
Hey, welcome back to Searching for Service. I am Joseph Kirk, your host. I'm here with Pat Merriweather. And just as a reminder that you can find us on your local favorite podcast providers. And our show really, really appreciates the 5-star reviews. It's how we know we're doing a good job for you and providing value. So, Pat, just to tie up our last section, and we talked a little bit offline, is we're in a world that is constantly telling us that we're different than the next person, the person right next to us. And my favorite thing about Rotary is you realize just how much we're the same. I mean, it's
Yes.
actually astonishing how much we're all
Mhm.
the same, and we're all seeking really similar, basic, fundamental needs and rights that people all deserve. And I'm just constantly blown away and given proper perspective that we are so much more alike than we're different.
Yes. And I have to say, traveling to many different countries, I find the commonality, the wanting the best for their children, to be employed, to be contributing to a society, to be healthy, to enjoy happiness, and to be able to share that with others. I mean, I think it is very universal, and I think that's how Rotary is. It's the service, it's the friendship, it's the fellowship, it's bundled all together.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, let's pivot our conversation. I'm really excited to talk about this. And, I really appreciated you actually bringing me up to speed on this, because I didn't know a whole lot about how these zone institutes work and how they're brought together and why they're important. And you have a zone institute coming in Evanston, Chicago, which is the founding place, or it's where Rotary headquarters, world headquarters, is located, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Yep. So how about you just run with that a little bit and give us a little background of what a zone institute does, brings in all the districts, and what the meaning and hope of what you accomplish in those institutes.
Well, it's a multi-day event, and it'll be in Evanston, Chicago, the birthplace of Rotary and the home of Rotary. So we're able to knock both of those off at one time. And we bring in people from district governors elect, nominees, past district governors, and then everyone involved in membership, foundation, public image, education or facilitated learning, polio, major grants. It really is a large group of people that come together, and they go through preparation for the next year. What is the next year going to be like? So in October, we're already planning for the next July. And so we'll come together. It's a lot of intense type of training in that, learning and sharing with each other. It's facilitated types of approach, so you can't sleep during a session. You've got to be engaged and involved. And then we also treat them to the surrounding community. So we'll be going to different places in Evanston and Skokie, seeing the Holocaust Museum, the Baha'i Temple, and then also to Chicago so they can explore Chicago. We'll have dinners at night. On 2 of the nights, we're at the Women's Club of Evanston. And we selected that location not only because of its historic place in Evanston, but because it also, they provide the services, they're all volunteers. And so the money they raise actually goes towards scholarships for women, young girls in need. And then Saturday night, we'll be at the Ukrainian Cultural Center for our dinner. And they are so excited to thank the Rotarians for all of their support for Ukraine. So it's going to be a wonderful time. It really is.
That sounds like a full calendar. And just to help us, like to help those that are listening to this that aren't Rotarians or aren't familiar with it, like what is the purpose? Like, what do you hope to achieve by the end of it? I know it's a lot of planning, but at the end, what do you hope that anybody who attends takes away from it?
That they're knowledgeable about the positions that they will have, the importance of leaders bringing up other leaders, encouraging that innovation, that capability to explore on different projects and programs. And by the end of it, we hope they leave energized, knowledgeable about what they have ahead, and then acquainted with some other things, because we do bring in guest speakers and typically on topics of interest, such as mental health. We'll have one on mental health, on peace, how to navigate through the next couple of years across all nations, but also in the United States. How to deal with the divisiveness and make sure that we stay focused on what's most important in our mission and vision of Rotary.
So there's a lot of life development and just continual learning that's happening at these things.
It is, and we have the beauty is we'll have the Rotary staff there too, so that we can also pull them in, and they can also share more information and be supportive to all of the Rotary leaders that'll be there.
Yeah, it just made me think of something. I remember I used to work for Target, and because Minnesota is obviously the home of the headquarters. Everybody was on their best behavior because at any point, headquarters could come in. I'm sure that it's going to have a a similar feeling, being kind of in the motherland, so to speak.
I don't think we're that reserved. I actually, I'm in Kansas right now, calling in, and we did bowling last night. We did karaoke. We had a great time, and I do think that Rotary Rotary members will have fun no matter where they are.
Now, do you have to be invited to this, or is this something that you can sign up for if you are just a Rotary, like if you're not in leadership?
Actually, for the events on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they are open to any Rotarian, Rotaractor, even interactors. So the training, because it is very specific to positions on Thursday and part of Friday, that is really for the people that will be in those positions, and it's to make it manageable in terms of the interaction and collaborative learning.
Yeah, I like a good trip to Chicago anytime I can. I
Yeah,
mean, I may not
Chicago's
be,
great.
I may not be able to go anywhere for a little while, but um, but where can people find out more information about the Zone Institute?
Okay, it's on the website on zones 25B and 29.
Okay,
So if you just do a Google on zones 25B and 29, it'll show up on your site.
that's awesome. Like, just in case there's anybody out there that's really curious about attending this, because it sounds
Yes.
amazing. It really does, and what a unique opportunity to see where Rotary's roots are, and
Mhm.
how it, and think about how far it's come.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of laugh about it and go, wow, it started there and it's spread like wildfire. And, you know, we're really lucky that it did, and we're able to do a lot of good. So, what are you looking most forward to about the event personally?
Well, I think giving them a taste of Chicago and the experience of Evanston, the cultural, we oftentimes, people from Chicago, we talk about two Chicagos. There's the Chicago the tourists see and the Chicago that nobody else sees. So we hope to acquaint them with some of those challenges that we are facing, and then on the other hand, they'll be meeting with Gordon McAnally, who will be
Mhm.
president at the time, Stephanie Urchik, who will be president elect, and also Mark Maloney, who's a past RI president, but he also is the chair-elect of the Rotary Foundation. So they have all this opportunity to interact, ask any questions, and to be in the same room with them and have conversations.
That's a pretty cool opportunity.
Yes.
I call that a target-rich environment. And then one more question, and I've been dying to ask you this actually since the beginning of this, is like, do you have a favorite restaurant in Chicago that everybody that goes to this event should go to?
Oh, actually, ask me what type of food, because
Oh, okay, type of food.
okay,
Because
okay,
they're all there. I mean, I love Chicago.
they're
It's a
all
great
there.
town.
One of my favorite restaurants is Mi Tierra. It's
Mhm.
in the Mexican, what's called the Little Village community. And the reason being is we did a charter night there. Was the first Mexican Rotary Club in Chicago. And they had over 300 people for a charter night. And 30 people came from Mexico. And as soon as we installed the president, we didn't get time to install anyone else because they came out with bottles of tequila and everyone was doing shots.
Oh
The
boy.
whole the rest of the event was it was gone. It was out of control. It was a great time, a lot of fun. So
Oh
Mi
man.
Tierra is a wonderful place to go.
We'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
So, but let's transition. We get to go into the last segment, which is my personal favorite, and hearing about, what your goals and aspirations and dreams are for not only Rotary, but yourself and your roles that you're taking up on. So, let's head into that. And
Okay.
you're listening to Searching for Service, and I'm Joe Kirk, and we'll see you on the last segment. Excited. Yeah, time management, not good for Joe. I looked up and I'm like, well, last segment will be a little bit shorter.
Okay. That's okay, because I don't have much to say.
Excited. I'm excited to hear this last. This is always my favorite.
Excited.
In the
My
last
favorite
segment. Excited. It's nice not having to do this show live, too. Like, you can go back and kind of adjust the time.
So Kelly was the timekeeper, huh? She kept you
Well,
online?
So the if you can see me, there's a monitor right here. So, and I usually sit across, and so Kelly would kind of keep an eye and kind of give me like a little, and I kind of lose myself sometimes in the conversation, and it's just the way the cookie crumbles.
The next time she could be back with the baby, that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I told her, I said we should bring Maddie on the air. That'd be hilarious.
Her name's Maddie.
Madeline is her
Madeline?
name. We call her Maddie. Yeah.
That's a pretty
Madeline.
name.
Madeline Ann Kirk. 8 pounds 2 ounces.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice and healthy.
Yeah. I was 10 pounds. So I have a legacy of large babies. I apologized to Kelly immediately when we found out we were pregnant. All right. Should we do the final?
Sure.
Final? It's too bad you weren't in studio. We could have done tequila shots. That would have been really funny.
I did. Did you ever do those jelly shots?
Oh, yeah.
I had my first one last night.
And?
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, sneaky little devils, that's for sure.
It didn't help my bowling either.
Or it depends. It could.
Yeah, it didn't. But it didn't hurt it either.
That's most of us. All right, Patrick, we ready to roll? All right. Hey, welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary Districts 5950 and 5960. I'm Joe Kirk, and I'm with Pat Merriweather, Rotary International Director and VP coming this July. We've been talking a lot about, I don't know, kind of all kinds of stuff, to be honest. And, it's kind of a potpourri of things. But my favorite segment is always when we can kind of dream ahead and, really talk about what we have for visions, depending on what we're talking, what the subject matter is of the call. Since we had the potpourri, share some of the goals and aspirations you have, for Rotary, for you, your role coming in as the VP in 2023 here. Just share some of the goals and aspirations you have.
I think in the short term, which is now and next year, certainly the short term is getting more people engaged and involved that are in Rotary to also be involved. I'd also like to see increases in Interact. I was young in high school, and I was in junior achievement. And I do have to say that experience changed my life. And I hear that all the time from interactors too, is how this really propelled them to take on, future involvement with Rotary as well. For next
Absolutely.
for next year, I think, Gordon McNally he wants continuity of service, succession planning, handoffs, of course, hope, creating hope in the world, and also mental health. And I'm here in Kansas right now, and I did not know this, that Kansas is ranked number 51, including the United States and Puerto Rico, for lack of mental health services.
Meaning they don't have the
They
service.
don't.
Okay.
No,
Yep.
they don't. And so the need for mental health, I think, is something that President Gordon has really emphasized, and treating mental health in the same vein we would treat physical health.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I think those are,
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off
yeah,
there.
those are areas that I think are going to be very important, along with peace within our communities, peace within our nation, peace within the world.
There
And
sure
working
seems to
towards-
be a real clear line through all of those initiatives, right? Like, I mean, they all feed into one another.
Yes.
And what's really fascinating is, Rotary, I mean, I've shared it in the other shows as well, as Rotary changed my life in that the service was the greatest mental help for me personally. And so to be able to focus a little bit more on the mental health, that then, obviously you're going to be able to forge more peace and understanding amongst people. If the individuals that are talking have a better feeling of self. And so I love those initiatives. I think those are really great. How about something for yourself? Do you have a personal goal that you're excited about achieving in the coming years? Could be related to Rotary or not.
I do have a personal goal. It's not related to Rotary, but in the future it could be. And that's to improve the quality and safety of nursing homes and the nursing home residents. I've been working, professionally in this area of quality and safety improvement. And this was one area that hasn't really ever improved. And actually it's gone the opposite way. And so I just see that many residents are very challenged. And what's interesting is during the pandemic, the isolation that took place for seniors was the same across the world. And so it was this challenge that we have is that we treat people in nursing homes, I always say, out of sight, out of mind. And that's what we've pretty much done, is as long as we don't have to see and face the realities, it's out of our mind and out of policy and legislative development.
So what's one thing that you feel like can really move the needle in that?
I think there's probably two things. One, residents and families and communities getting involved in nursing homes.
Mhm.
And because half of the residents in nursing homes don't have family. So it really is the community taking a leadership role and saying, we care about the residents that are there and we are demanding better care for them. So that's one way. The other way is, you know, talking to legislators about the conditions of nursing homes. I'm from the Illinois, and in Illinois, 1 out of 5 of our 700 nursing homes has what's called the red hand. It's the abuse hand, where you should not, send anyone. Don't think about going there or sending a loved one. So I do think that there's opportunities to affect change, but it also has to be more public, more transparent.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there definitely needs to be much more conversation around that topic. And you're right. COVID really highlighted that, right? I mean,
Yes.
we couldn't go and see them. They were completely isolated, and it actually just mirrored what they were already feeling and being treated as. So, I'm really excited that you're really taking that on, and you've spent a lot of your life, helping people in this, in this area and this industry. And so,
Well,
what's one thing that a Rotary Club could do? Like our Rotary Club, come Valentine's Day, we do Valentine's
Mhm.
and flowers, and it's always met with such great, um, people just love it. And it just feels a little like when you kind of put it in context of what you just talked about, it feels a little like surface level. So what's something that a Rotary Club could empower themselves to do to really help that community?
I think if there is no any type of resident or resident family council, they can ask for why isn't there a community council that we can get involved with. But I will tell you what happened during the pandemic. Our district decided to buy iPads for the nursing homes. And so we bought 264 iPads and distributed them to the nursing homes in the Chicago area. And what happened is it made the Tribune. The Tribune had an editorial about there should be this level of communication that nursing home residents can talk to their family members and their family members can visually see their loved ones. And it took the eye of a legislator, a state legislator. And now in Illinois, it is required that all nursing homes provide virtual visitation, just as if they had in-person visitation, virtual visitation for those that are far away and can't make it in, or if the nursing home ever goes back on lockdown. But it's now a requirement as of January 1st, 2023.
Wow. So really meaningful change that was implemented and started through through Rotary.
Started by Rotarians. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, Pat, we're really kind of wrapping up here. We've got about 45 seconds left. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, taking time out of your busy schedule, and it's going to get a whole lot busier, it sounds like, in July. And, thank you from the bottom of our heart. We're hoping that this show reaches more people and really engages current Rotarians as well. So thank you so much for being part of that.
Well, thank you for everything you do, Joe, in getting the word out about Rotary and engaging more people to join Rotary and get active in Rotary too. So thank you for what you do, and congratulations, Dad.
Thank you so much. And just as a reminder, you're listening to Searching for Service. And just remember, it's time to stop searching and start serving.